have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, everyone, for me, acquire about 1 hour with Monofi, so me with GD say, and will be at home Eden. We are back on the show once again. Now, and ye baba twetwe enkomo afa Ghana home, baby a Ghana sikasem atopa ha adruno. E wase me ne wo idi ho nkomo na afi de e say Ghana sikasem no e din poten ene de sa nema we eba. E pa cha mbeka say NPP in opposition e ka say John Dramani Mahama His Excellency incompetent because say wabaje dollar from 1:1 ama dollar no akodru 1:4. Enti according to them no John Mahama is incompetent. And the NPP are buying at the dollar, the same dollar, na kwa 15 cities. Na yebekwa kwaje adwenkyere potia omankasa nso edema say edin the dollar no akwa kodru sa. Ebiem me do be kodwom na yakwa kwaje dwomfo adwen say Ghana sikasa no ba bia aseyadu no san ena muhu no. Na mifiri ho me do be ko United States of America NPP panyi baako through missiles the man and Akuffo Addo say the leadership style and Akuffo Addo abana there if you so join the NPP ohun bi da Nanado asay Ghana pata kwata enti yenko sha sem free Ghana dwom
ta abawe no business ne de a change kura bi a change wo system nim hesi no ba krom kura nya de bio tete asa na ade asane asa akofie munya kura ye ntohwe
nyame nyinam atutu nyame nyinam ntaban no wadada yen na wadada yan kasa
de market ni de anya yie maye sese kura loan kura mpa mudi maye no kura po sese loan se de mudi atuso no edoso de se ye ji kura mpa ye ntumi ntua nyama no kwa ye kofa de nto no ntem nti fa so kakra eda so no ube to awie no na wadi awie na wakodi nipa ko no nso sika no na ada ne ye ka se adito no wo form kra maye nti on titi nyama so se na ebe ya yenso ye obatan ebe nya kakra na de ahwe ye ma na se ya adito wo form kra uto kra ye nto
ye nya wo ne munti ne yeto aba no ye ho kire ye to ye nto afi kra posika da bank kra na akofo kwaje nso ene so kra da ne asem ye mfa osika ma loan nso kra se de ne kra de ye ka ho asem ya ye de kakra so ekuta ne so a ne ma no ton a edwa ne nko esa ne
to ne yetum first ade otumi di ebi asika betumi da to 3 cartons 4 cartons so the to one what I say ene you can say dollar no kosoro sometimes we go me bobo say the come I will say 20 Ghana kwa mintu aye ene importers we say so musu ye importers no musu o omumu hu han ho aye ne yeso ehu be hen han aye
ta abawe no
enti jomfo ensema omowo edema na adodanko Akuffo Addo ene na ban ene no ba bia mode Ghana economy no adru no say ebia na omankasa hu what is wrong with the system. This is how Ghanaians are feeling the heat in the system. Na me pa chaw mokai honorable Amoah and na me no ka say on any deputy finance minister papa abra on my finance minister no na otonyom foforo obenya position no papa e cancer foforo ma me menchira video bi papa e my finance minister no na what TV so say ahokire wo Ghana no ohun bi da a osu me pa chaw yemhwe honorable Amoah.
We should think about the poor. We are of mine home. And the Amoah Ghana, and yet it's very painful. You should think about the poor. We are of mine home. And the Amoah Ghana, and yet it's very painful. You should think about.
But also home papa. Onye menya position no. Otimi tena TV so esu se Ghana ahokire aba Ghana. So we should rather think about the poor than the Ghana no enye honorable Amoah no. But Ghana politics na ye and sometimes I don't know say nipa nya political position na why hantan ahomaso papa yi wonya meye minister no uti TV so esu se Ghana ahokyere aba Ghana papa yi nanado nano ada ya yero jonkuma free we ya nanado kanja so obi why are they what matter TV so dia brabe deputy finance minister na boa Ghana na Ghana sikasem enkoyie pepacho Ghana sikasem papa yi wo be minister nano ada no now $1 was to 12 cedis say I do 15 cedis and a Ghana for a camera could jina papa yenim say ora honorable yenimu utimi su TV so jina e sense when was a hochere e Ghana na baby a Ghana sikasem aduri de say dollar importers and exporters so no musu die na beti ma ye de a che Ghana sikasem asi wa e pa cho yemko answer papa de ma Ghana for
even with the depreciating Cedi.
Cedi is the first time Cedi who accorded what you are wearing we didn't we import. We imported this, we imported that. Cedi depreciation is a ritual problem. I agree with you. It's not because of one particular government. Unless one is suffering from unconscious incompetence or displaying intellectual dishonesty, that will say that Cedi depreciation is NPP government. It's an issue that has nationalistic or that needs nationalistic attention. That one I agree. But it's not, so far we keep on being in importer-driven economy. We'll be having problems with the Cedi because we import almost everything. But inshallah, Alhaji Dr. Amoah and Bawumia, next year if he comes, we're going to design a long-term framework to deal with the Cedi.
Even with the depreciating Cedi.
Cedi is the first time Cedi who accorded what you are wearing we didn't we import. We imported this, we imported that. Cedi depreciation is a ritual problem. I agree with you. It's not because of one particular government. Unless one is suffering from unconscious incompetence or displaying intellectual dishonesty.
This is sticker. But you want the position and the posture papa de kasa. One how kasa ne atema wo di kire Ghana for. One say sometimes what surprises me is hey papa ya ono timitina TV so esu say ahokyere wa Ghana no. Your man post kakra no. When they look at how he is speaking. Sticker. Many Jefferson made us say what me according me. One with the position how papa you know what okasa and I am pia papa to check Ghana for post no have say there enti say nipa de ko position ni wi a na ase on kai say only the same person no gina TV so esu no o ka check Ghana for say a ritual problem enti no aban bi aba say ya na ye enti yentimi nya hwe mfa ho was finance minister no was Cedi depreciation no yentimi nya hwe mfa ho just obi a also the academic dishonesty in there we use some other terms be menka impo pepacha wa be kai na wa send comment na mama yet he forgot to say was in opposition no nanado use Cedi depreciation no e dey campaign say onere afia pepacha wo na yen kai no
we no maba ya be say yesikasa Cedi na ya hata awodi bi enim I don't see one year deep down the young young faso. What was it I say to maybe Muswa, Unya faso because Sikano a Munyetu. Nemnonia Juma Kessia Babaye. The Babet sits on near the Celia a Mua two, now one in deep down, Unya faso. Whatever said Muswa, Unya faso. Ekahubi tina mekofa Bawumia some kame ho ye hihye ye sikasam no eyiye na sika no emunye dubio ekbi de adwuma
e ba jo so what ase stika ebia na we onim se nanado kan sanse mu nyina nanado see the main reason why all by say under John Dramani Mahama no Cedi na ye hata because John Mahama say Ghana Cedi eno ntina ono oyeba se ne be ye adwadifo mo ho beto mo na eno ka ho bi enti na wakofa Alhaji Dr. Amoah and Bawumia ba se o meboa no mo meso ve Ghana sikasem ebia na stika enim se nanado kan sem we or I don't know so wa share down so I now be position no and he's changing nipa ba akona wo TV so etimi su se Ghana sikasem ase ma Ghana ho kira ba Ghana nti e se politicians egbe ne Ghana ho no wo the same person be nya position na o ka kire say Ghana sikasem no ye kra ne mefre brochi nti entimi nsesa but how the nipa no unya position kakra bi a then he changes instantly Onya kakra biya na wasesa. You don't even believe say eh nipa ba akona no a what TV so no osu no ene post na asesa obenya position a oye sa adwuma we no. Ba Ghana no minim why pa na bit me akwara Ghana. Because if these are the men and NPP force we have the men there, then I'm sorry, you don't have the men. You do not have the men. Yango bisa Amoah and Bawumia say Ghana economy no essay a edi na wodi hu say Ghana economy no essay Bawumia ma Ghana answer say time be hu say Ghana economy no atete apansam no something is causing that epacho yanko tie ne kai stika say the leader na no odi na chi say Ghana for money be president and or the long term policy beba no we vice president and 8 years ni head of the economic management team. We want to me answer Ghana economy. Osi my president. Now the long-term policy, Abba. Anyway.
Open economy with market determination of prices. Exchange rate movements are the most important indicator of underlying macroeconomic fundamentals. As the saying goes, when in doubt, observe the exchange rate. The lesson from history for governments is that you cannot manage the economy with propaganda. In fact, you can engage in all the propaganda you want. But if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you.
What I say, the Bia Metaika say, the words Amoah and Bawumia use is something that I like. Or say, in fact, you can engage in all the propaganda you want, but the exchange rate will expose you. Someone was saying the exchange rate will expose you. Exchange rate expose you. Papa, we are TV so no sooner. The patron and we
should think about the poor. We are of mine home. And the Amoah Ghana, it's very painful. You should.
Nipa na on TV so also say yeah, me no mine one is very painful. So we should think about the poor no. On your position we say ko bisa and say and some one kasa will lead that kind say the measure economy atiti apansam ni a answer ni posture papa yi e dey maye ni na what ade ha me say o say yes to oba na Bawumia and or the long term policy baba hey papa yi boko there. Do you think that everything is correct with this sticker?
Even with the depreciating Cedi?
Cedi. It's the first time Cedi. Who accorded what you are wearing, didn't we import? We imported this. We imported that. Cedi depreciation is a ritual problem. I agree with you. It's not because of one particular government. Unless one is suffering from unconscious incompetence or displaying intellectual dishonesty, that will say that Cedi depreciation is NPP government. Is an issue that has nationalistic or that needs nationalistic attention. That one I agree. But it's not, so far we keep on being in importer-driven economy. We'll be having problems with the city because we import almost everything. But inshallah, Alhaji Dr. Amoah and Bawumia, next year if he comes, we're going to design a long-term framework to deal with the city.
Even with the depreciation.
Unless one is suffering from unconscious incompetence. Well, Papa na what it is also no. And now we have position no. Abuja for some home. Atem didie and we Ghana for NPP. We have the men. But Ghana ya mistake, Papa. Ghana ya mobo. Some crofo nyina tie backbencher. They see everything clear. Incompetent mama. And now what be your position? You are saying say I just be incompetent because the Cedi no depreciate na ban bia basa. Hey, say na mka kire before becoming president, before assuming the presidency.
To bring down inflation to low and stable levels, because it really brings down the cost of living. It brings down interest rates. It creates exchange rate stability and creates an environment where the cost of doing business is lower businessmen can plan with that stability in terms of their investment horizon and make investment decisions on that basis. So bringing down inflation to low single-digit levels is very important. And, you know, also job creation once you have this business environment improving and cost of doing business improving. So that is basically, I agree with that. And that is what I stated right up front when I talked about inflation. My only issue to bring down inflation to low and stable levels, you know, because it really brings down the cost of living. It brings down interest rates. It creates exchange rate stability and creates an environment where the cost of doing.
Enti Mahmoud Bawumia was in opposition, you know. If the audio was a little bit low, who says inflation costs businessmen as of far. Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was in opposition, who says inflation sora businessmen so far ni go mojuma into no be azumi the office of the vice president or be make sure inflation be from. These were not my words. These were the words of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia before becoming the vice president of the country. As among cases video ni audio we nyina egu ho. Na wo benya vice president na Ghana sikasem essay na Ghana fo bisa wo say masa na babi a wo baje kumia babi sikasem yaduri ene nsema wo kan yansa na wo bufro position na ba na 8 years ni wo gu ye businesses why bibia. Mahmoud Bawumia is now saying that when he becomes president or the new policy beba me pacho he go nkoti Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia na say wo gini dia wa wasem.
We can get 3 billion a year in gold from the small scale mining sector alone. That changes our balance of payments completely. This is every year you can get this. And it's there, it is being mined every year, taken out to India, to Dubai, and other places. So I want us, essentially, I made mention of this on February 7th, that ultimately my goal is that we are going to back our currency with gold. That is where I want us to go, increasingly back our currency with gold, because it is very easy for us to do so if you keep having the gold reserves. And that will keep a lot of stability in the exchange market. Because right now, we don't have an anchor to hold the currency.
Well, when somebody is confused, and somehow kind of know, or say his policy is that we are going to back our currency with gold. These are the words of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Say his vision is so no be president that we're going to back our currency with gold, send a buy a stabilize Ghana cedi no. Yet he has forgotten say he himself brought the gold for oil policy on kai anasa washeda. Wona wo se Ghana sikasem asay enti the solution is all the gold for oil policy be eba. Na sa policy no ene be ma Ghana sikasem agina yie. Ebe ma Ghana oil e cotton abeye cheap. I did not say all these kind of things. Mahmoud Bawumia when he was giving lectures on the gold for oil policy.
Beyond the IMF, however, we have to look for fundamental solutions to some of our problems. As our foreign exchange reserves have declined, the depreciation of the cedi, as I have noted, has accelerated. A major source of cedi depreciation has been the demand for foreign exchange to finance the import of oil products. In fact, our import of oil products is around $3 billion annually. Persistent cedi depreciation increases the cost of living with higher prices for fuel, transportation, utilities, food, and so on. Many governments, including ours, are facing a very difficult economic crisis that requires solutions that must come out of the box. How do we stop the depreciation? How do we stop the persistent increases in the prices of fuel and utility? We have been thinking about this long and hard. When you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, the challenge that we face is a limited access to foreign exchange, as our foreign exchange reserves have depleted and the demand has not fallen, but the demand has been relatively steady for that lower foreign exchange reserves. And so the demand exceeds the supply, and then you have depreciation. So the thinking that we said, okay, how do we get in more foreign exchange reserves for the country to be able to stem this gap between the demand and the supply? One of the things that occurred to us and to me was, why aren't we able to accumulate reserves in terms of gold? We have focused on accumulating reserves over the years in terms of US dollars and other currencies. But gold is a foreign exchange reserve. And the unique feature of gold is that we are endowed with gold. We produce gold in Ghana, which means you don't have to export gold to earn that foreign exchange. You have to export cocoa, you have to export timber and other goods, foods and so on, to earn the foreign exchange. With gold, immediately you dig it up, it is foreign exchange. So you are essentially digging up foreign exchange. So I said, let me check how much gold we have accumulated in Ghana thus far. And when you look at the data between independence and 2021, we had accumulated just 8 tons of gold. 8 tons. We are one of the largest gold-producing countries in the world. But we had accumulated 8 tons. When I looked at the United States, they have over 8,000 tons. The IMF, many other countries in Europe are dealing with gold reserves of over 2,000 tons. And we have 8 tons of gold. We proceeded to say the Bank of Ghana, we suggested to the central bank to begin a gold purchase program systematically to build up our reserves in gold. And the gold program started last year, and it is proceeding quite well. But to address this fundamental challenge that we all face of the persistent depreciation and its impact on fuel, in utility prices, food, and so on, government has opted to implement a policy of using our gold to buy oil products. That is something new, and it is the barter of sustainably mined gold for oil. And this is one of the most important economic policy changes in Ghana since independence. If we implement it as we have envisioned, it will fundamentally change our balance of payments and significantly reduce the persistent depreciation of our currency with its associated increases in fuel, electricity, water, transport, and food prices. Why would it stop these persistent increases in fuel, water, and food prices? It is very simple. This is because the exchange rate, whether you are looking at the spot exchange rate or the forward exchange rate, will no longer directly enter the formula for the determination of fuel or utility prices once we implement this, because the purchases of fuel and for transport and utility is going to be in cedis. It's not going to be in dollars. So because you're buying that fuel with gold, that is where the exchange takes place. But once you sell that fuel, you sell it in cedis. And then the Bank of Ghana uses those cedis to buy more gold and buy the oil, you sell it, and then it goes around in that way. But essentially, you are taking the exchange rate out of the equation. Today, our fuel prices are being priced at an exchange rate, a forward exchange rate of 19 cedis to the US dollar. Today, what we are paying at the pump is being priced at 19 cedis to the US dollar. So you can imagine when you price without the exchange rate in the formula, which is what is going to happen. We've already done some simulations. Then you will see that the prices of fuel will come down. And similarly, for PURC, if the exchange rate doesn't enter the equation, which it shouldn't because the transactions will be in cedis, similarly, then electricity tariffs will also have to come down. Because what you are now going to see, because one of the biggest, when you look at what drives fuel price increases, what drives electricity price increases, and therefore the cost of doing business, it's fundamentally the exchange rate. Major driver of these price increases. So if you are able to have a handle on the exchange rate movement, you are able to lower the depreciation of the currency at the same time as you lower this. And you are going to lower the depreciation of the currency because instead of the oil importers, especially the BDCs, going to the Bank of Ghana's window every few weeks to ask for foreign exchange to import oil, that one goes away. So we are saving $3 billion annually from the lack of demand from the Bank of Ghana for the foreign exchange. So that reduces the pressure on the cedi immediately. And therefore you will see much slower depreciation of the currency. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, since we announced this, I put this out on my Facebook, there's been a lot of discussion with the BBC, Reuters, Bloomberg, and some misinterpretation. This has been misinterpreted as Ghana being against the use of US dollars in international transactions. This really is not the case. We are not on any mission against the use of US dollars in international transactions. Far from it. In fact, we want to accumulate more US dollars in our reserves. But we have a specific issue to deal with oil imports and the nexus between those oil imports and the prices of fuel and transport and food and utilities. And that is essentially what we are targeting, to exchange our gold for the oil, take that path, and therefore insulate the domestic economy, domestic industry from the persistent depreciation that we see in the currency that affects the cost of doing business.
Enti, His Excellency Alhaji Dr. Amoah and Bawumia, anumun sebno no. The patch also uti very, very carefully. He himself on Kaise, we're making all these kind of utterances and all these promises already. Amoah and Bawumia is now behaving to say, and you're on the can't same way. And then he, the same person, is telling us, oh, no, by your president, and obey implemented these policies. The same thing, and sticker, and so I can't Ghana for. Say, your mama, Amoah and Bawumia, and obey your president, obey implemented these long-term policies and programs. Gold for oil now, yeah, Mutu. Ghana for someone home. And breaking the eight, no crepa de NPP for someone cabin chiro biada. No cre. Ede NPP for abonsa na ho se ne sebe Johnson abo akoko no. Nipa na ono ade policy abasi heli policy no. Akojo pon kuruma no na sefo yina say this is the most brilliant idea obi ade aba Ghana da no. It's turning around to say so no be president and obey implement it. And Amoah and Bawumia on Kaise wa catch the Ghana for that as a good for oil policy no. And the best stabilize Ghana cedi. Ebema oil boa from ebema employment, ebe boost economy no. They don't even remember. So I said I don't know. Ebiana unim dia say I said I was saying I have no idea. Channel A 1 hour with Munufie. I stream 1 hour of my time every day. That is why they name 1 hour with Munufie. If you're liking the show, ubeti me, I'm a thumbs up na. If you think everything is perfect, I say na adibi having tea and my boy heat kakranti. Well, office and program the heat was so much and me pacho yana or their chairman. Sometimes say in Kenya maybe our political leaders no know say be high. Did I in Ghana and a building may have no idea about someone to be president, the president that the ultimate aim and the goal they say obey Ghana ye. Namum and na me no tie kasa se me de John Dramani mama gina ho na me kana na do dan Akuffo Addo ne ene ba mudu ba Bawumia nyina boma no size John mama no kwa na me kana yamfa tu ni nyina mbom na do John mama nko gina ho the difference is clear. The difference is very, very, very clear. You say obi abon to the sense that we are here and ye. Me pacho me shall boss me the United States of America. Yene NPP panyi pa or see President Akuffo Addo US on and all drive Akuffo Addo airport e ko find the neba Addo nanti kurum ho onim NPP abakosem nyese otebrochi keke o so visit Ghana. Na yankwo bisa ne say Tanado danko Akuffo Addo Amoah yeto aba man the last 8 years omu Ghana no saying na wo NPP ni hu no. But do you know something? Video ya ba be surprisingly no. NPP mpanyifo nyina ko United States of America. E ko ye program ho e ho na papa yi na NPP program na say e kan sa me pa cho yankwo be video no.
All right, so the founding father of the New Jersey chapter, and your name is Atabuama. Nana Atabuama. Yes. Okay, Nana, so how many years have you been here in the USA?
I've been here for almost 45 years.
Wow, that's a very long time.
Of course.
And have you been coming down to Ghana?
I just came back from Ghana last week.
Okay.
So I know the procession and the problem we are encountering in Ghana.
Okay. All right. So the NPP USA is 30 years. What it means is that you have seen virtually the entire lifespan of the New Patriotic Party here in the United States of America. What are the thoughts that you have to share about this chapter?
Well, this chapter, I'm glad they brought this 30 years anniversary. Why? First, I thank our leaders who fought for the independence of Ghana. And because of that, that's why we all are putting our resources together to build the party. It's like our national anthem, Yenara Assassini, Yenananum Ye Tuasono, and then the Yenso be Beatuaso. The party right now, we need a good leadership. Nanado has failed the NPP. Why? So many things. He came in, he swore to us he will use a discipline, accountability. He failed. Look right now what is going on in Ghana. The party doesn't belong to Achim people. How many Achim people in Ghana are registered to vote? This is a warning to the vice president and the party officials, or Safumafo and the rest of them. They all need to sit back. I was here when Safumafo came here. When Kufuor came, I was Kufuor, his chauffeur. I drove him to the airport before we win the election. So I know about this party. But the leaders of this city, for this country.
All right, so the founding father of the New Jersey chapter, and your name is Atabuama.
Enti heat no akọ Afri Ghana abrochirifo nyina filo mo de NPP party no obi ehun se na Nado Danko Akuffo Addo asay party no obi ehun se wo hwese ne papa yi ka say say papa ehun say no there's something wrong.
Okay. So and I know
let's focus on some of the key issues na papa yi kan. O se na Nado eba no promise our ma NPP as a party no ankasa no wa fail. 2, promises are Odema Ghana wafeli. And then 3, so when you chimney, you're more opposed to be our party. No. Do you think that these kind of statements are papa can no correct and no correct? And then that is what is happening in the party, and that is what is happening in Ghana. Party not to Japan, I'm at Quest Ghana so, and the vice president couldn't Kaiser or no a vice president because gurunum. There is a video of Alhaji Dr. Amoah and Bawumia catching Ghana for say, or no, another I'm fan of muscle hold economy. Now, will be our baby send economy as a could be a finance minister by them, not Kenufurata, honorable Kenufurata, and an air finance minister, and not as a vice president, no. Also, the digitalization at the nearby. Because when who's a vice president, the Jumana, I demand by convention on any head of Ghana's economic management team, no, or fairly, your man acquire money in your Jumano. And that shows the weak aspect of Alhaji Dr. Amoah and Bawumia. Or you so weak say we are here and ye. What I say? Because Ghana na building no. We need to move Ghana from one point to the other. And baby a John the money mama de Ghana free bedru and no. We were expecting say NPP for by move Ghana faster ahead of that. Now this is the case. I'm buy and the Ghana sign air konechi. Because the party now promises that you are going to move Ghana away from taxation onto production. Because you were saying, say, John the money mama, tax Ghana for the door. Is Ghana away from taxation to production? And I say, taxation to taxation. Sometimes, what's a maimu? We are pani, and now we are youthful, or the mammy from youth, so we are youthful person. Now, pen no creka, now what pen no critia, or that in a yes say no. Because when you lead these kind of people, or don't know, Omo is more per human ayo, or where's the car? Not to sort of TV so also no per human aye. Your man a Jumaye no, Wabed die communicator, crachen, why the most. They say, I think they who said if you honest, can have Babesho, who said the Juman no hoyena, and they are pam no, Papa in a Babesho. And then the whole minister of finance to make a Ghana for say economy no. I guess it will be our dream form. And now, we bet me a Cedi depreciation, a NPP for an Cedi depreciated. But do you know something? Papa, enya sa atem didieno every Alhaji Dr. Amoah and Bawumia ho. E pa chomo kai ta Amoah and Bawumia can say if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you no. Obedi vice president na fundamentals na aye weak no. Ghana for do na say could be say Amoah and Bawumia say the exchange rate now can't have no. As a expose you, Amoah and Bawumia can't say the Ghana for say, or no one can say if the fundamentals are weaker, the exchange rate will expose you. But why about say exchange rate constantly fundamentals as weak, you know? Or say or logic and I'm going to be Amoah and Bawumia or my the right word.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will recall that I stated in 2014 that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. That was true then, and it is true now. It is 100% correct. So if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. But it is warped logic to jump from that to a conclusion that if there is depreciation in their currency, then the fundamentals must be weak.
The word warped logic, you know, wow, Tiasi, you bit man send the comment, our matter say. Ebi na me but Amoah and Bawumia say, I no one the general simple say if the fundamentals are weaker, the exchange rate will expose you. Now, say wow, because exchange rate, you know, say until the fundamentals are weak, you know, a warped logic. But wow, to warped logic, and so wait me actually say. And these are the same words are okay as take a use, you know. Or share the same communication and the same keywords na Amoah and Bawumia catch the Ghana for no. And no be na steka e kano. No papa say warped means bent or twisted out of shape. Yes. And the nipa ba na no position na. Or no can say dollar after say you devalue Ghana currency no. Ama be 1:1 no. John Mama they could do 1:4 no. Actually say John Mama ni mamu na economy no wase no the fundamentals economy ni na wase no ti exchange rate and expose no. Because John Mama was playing propaganda say exchange rate na say no enye economy na say. Mamudu Bawumia wo na ka kire say enye no kore. Na the fundamental way obehu say economy bia say exchange rate no. Wo be vice president wo ka kire say warp logic we are burning the ship the argument say what was omu Ghana for omu Ghana for say Ghana for adwen e wo form na sa what ho now you can't just breaking the 8 now the kukurumuti we say akoto aba ma papa we dia in fact na some master care can na say wo kan ho bi asema Mamudu Bawumia can na say it goes directly onto you. These are things that I was a team move for no mumutime tenase a reason for yourselves. We need to reason and say mo be a reason mayo that be and now yet mamuni na wuti kesi a enye Mamudu Bawumia na be ka kire say wuti kesi o. You need to reason. And say there's something wrong with the system. Enye me na say me ka kire o. Enti entra mo Mamudu Bawumia nka kire o say Ghana economy is better. Abra wuni se sike kita no ehye. Yankwen be say importers and exporters say how are you feeling the heat in Ghana? We enya Mamudu Bawumia analysis no. E was some moment na mo kire say this is what is going on in the system. When are we importing nema? O ko $1 to auto ne saying. What the nema be do porter utimi yi. Epacho importers and exporters send the message to Seka and then nana do NPP for say adwena mu fi say ya adwen nya adwuma no enye sa na tie.
They say who is $10,000 Saudi almost about 140,400. What is 15,300? 153,000 Ghana cedis. And now this is $10,000. Na sabita frache sort as here. Yem fan say 7 years ago. Na the number say 4 point something no. Wow, we did this say. E dey no nipa no betimi aye. Hayen uyi nyoma omo ka say uyi nyoma. Omo say omo fa exchange rate in e work. Ye pedi oti GRA ho no and oti customs ho no. No me kan kire say your exchange rate no dey work. Mo the exchange rate and mo dey work duty a ye tua. Mo the exchange rate na work duty a ye tua. Yes $100 ye di sika kakraka and e kosi no. Nti beton no ma wie na waboka. Mo da so te so sahwe ye bibia nko so oman ne ye. Bawumia di asem biom na oba be ka kire. Di asem biom na Bawumia be ka kire. O ka no kure a na MPP for na nkasa me MPP ni. O ka no kure a omum be so mbeti. E di na ekoso yi. Oman kitikiti te se Ghana. E se Ghana brese. Oman te se Ghana, e se Ghana brese. Okokro bi so the province. Ghana e ye kitikiti. Your gold, diamond, bauxite, manganese. Oil, ya nya oil account. Sebita fracho. Ya papa Akuffo ba e no. Sort ya say oye bi me ehu e. Papa no nwu ye. Mo ti so na mo kasa. Papa ne ti ho. Adentina mungo consult no na mo. They say who is 10,000.
Ayo. Sa futu we NPP for beti a nkanya ni. Because we te Ghana we complain kwa na say to ayampe ade ma no. E say twaball style bi. Papa isi munko Ewura Akuffo ho. Akuffo advise him how to rule a nation, how to govern a nation. Na ne amotewa moye ide it is like munima de kra moye. And it is true. One who says what Ghana ene. Na Mamudu Bawumia, Dr. Mamudu Bawumia, deda oye ansa na vice president. Even oye vice president kra na $1 no. A stabilizer ansa na president vice president na waka se wachi sikana ashe prison e de kisa ma IGP no. Ene enwuma wo to no. Do you think say papa we say o man kwan say o president a obetime agavin Ghana amount? But these are questions are sedakro otifia bisa wo ho. Me wo question bia meta bisa me ho say enti Samira Bawumia ene Mamudu Bawumia ko wure dem na adwo a edin asem ena o ka kire no. Edin afutuo ena o dem no because minim say utimi nyini e ware a your wife or your husband advises you. Enti Samira Bawumia ne Mamudu Bawumia kwahye dem a edin afutuo no dem no say ye mene Mamudu Bawumia anka sa post we am say me penka say me person be president so den ka majai I was a Amoah Bawumia timi tuni kuno Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia say masa Ura what disappointed Ghana for two per jai pose now peno because wow. Election where I this year say Mahmoud Bawumia 30% of the vote to Kurana. I'll put a question mark on most Ghanaians. 30% of the votes are be counted. So it means there's something wrong with Ghana. Because me when interest Ghana ni biko jina house or Obama Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Abra the last 8 years now, almost say Ghana flat. Titi Ghana pansa nokra. Abusa for mama kan 1 or 2 messages via aba na afide ensign into aso. Millicent say Kufuor is the one who destroyed our city. Militant, I do agree with you. Because Kufuor buy no cover devaluation we buy then time normally Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia a cover free Bank of Ghana then be sha no say o ma Ghana sika now then time now 1 cedi is to 10,000 Ghana cedis no or pay zero sin in fusion e be 1:1. That is why NPP always believe say a dollar na 1:1 na 1:1 na 1:10,000 Ghana cedis. We zeros in the future okay. But anyway, rate denomination, yes, that is the right word. No power, rate denomination. Thank you very much. That was the work of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Say on a titik, on Kufuor, Nana Domine say Ghana. Exactly. That was the same time Amode called HEPIC. Kufuor and the Ghana called HEPIC. Almost say Ghana. I quite remember say under Kufuor, near see public toilet cry, you don't want HEPIC benefit. Public toilet, HEPIC benefit. I saw one on the Accra Kumasi Road. There were 2 washroom I see could be so, but I don't remember the name of that town. A major any area, who was actually on HEPIC benefit. And on that means a Kufuor de by one just can be our Ghana. That was the KVIP. Yes, actually on HEPIC benefit, KVIP, HEPIC benefit. Mela say, I have realized that it's principally the businessmen, public sector workers, and pensioners with investment in government bonds who are bearing the brunt on the misgovernance. Of course, because Obi Yare, a pension, why investment in a buying for scanning in a yes, it's a 2032 Nibit will be a Sikamano today. I don't know. Kufogalo in our I see. I see. All right. But men kind 1 or 2 messages when I am him. If I channel 1 hour with Murufia, I will be much happy if you could actually subscribe now. After the time be about online, I send a once we be notification. Cashman, Bawumia even don't trust himself. Cashman, France Boko there. Bawumia, yes, I'm trusting him. He is so deceptive. Say, or that again, then the team on that Ghana for. Yes, I'm trusting him. He knows what he's doing. Or that Ghana for Nkwa. So at a point, or the policy bar, who's a policy in Amfa, no, I say, woman be a president. And they levy. Meanwhile, Mahmoud Bawumia so be a president, we can levy. Ministers, about 125 or so, also no be a president, or the 50 and then you are enjoying 125. Now you say 50 bit me, I don't know to me advice I buy 1 for 15 years. I would say these kind of people, that is their modus operandi. That is how they operate in the system. That is how they operate in the system. And as more Kumiana, the aggressiveness in our power no. That was what Hobson Adoye was exhibiting. Hobson Adoye catching a Ghana for say, Omo power in 2016, Okoto dynamite. People think say it was just a joke or something. But don't you remember say Kwame Nkrumah, they threw over 8 bombs at Kwame Nkrumah just because they didn't want Kwame Nkrumah to become president. And somebody among them wanted to become president, auto bomb over 8. But surprisingly, none got him. But at the end of the day, Kwame Nkrumah died out of cancer. Bomb particles in the body, that killed Kwame Nkrumah. And that is the modus operandi of these people. So the same technique, and John Mama, Omu kuki niama kesia to John Mama to the sense, untimi nyina no. Now hope see Adoye votarian, we are small voter region. Now I could know votarian say 1 month to about. Now and then you were film no. I feel now I could join a movement or take to bomb ever. Oh, that is how these people operate. NPP first, I don't know. Every time they want to become or to form the next government, that is what they do. And in this particular year's election, I praise the NDC for beating me who's and then they counter all these kind of things because these people they can do anything, everything to win power. These people can do everything to win power. Mensaka of Refwa Udikanti, Medeneto line also. Many are Bibia Bokode. You are live on 1 hour with Munufi. Me pacho any discussion here adwenkyere ben na wo ho.
No, my drink today. Me
pacho Bowdina baby ofrifi. Oh, nice. By say me dey minimum by be na obi a ohwe ni nim say obi free Paris say friend Kwache Frederick. All right, me na Fred.
Paris. Yo, what they said that I am joining on the video.
No correct.
Just much my drink. Na anything, and say they na really can be say before they say a main found kokora. Na wo ka say anka wo kufuo omontie advice na papa no e de man. But for me, Kufuor has never demonstrated to be a statesman.
Okay.
Ever since his time. Na when you say about Kufuor Gideon or Bawumia, so anka nyesa anka empolo wa papa bontia beka bibi anka wa frɛ Bawumia tulufo anka you be na be gina bontia ede aka because that is it. Kufuor is the father of the party. But look at say what now high Akuffo Addo get party na dey. After you say young compare Kufuor ni Rollins. Time Rollins NDC e wa abamu na Rollins e ho. Sema Rollins here.
E kai.
Ano susu say corruption no ma bi ni ade. O dey na no too work aside. So when you say so is 6 months. But now we are eligible Bawumia airline na yi. Well, the campaign no Kufuor ho.
No, yes.
I will name economy. Yan fa mining Canada. Nti sai ni pa we wo didi je de akoso yi na ni ntia.
Onimpa.
Nti oni agbe of waso. Kufuor faso because Akuffo Addo ba for 7 years e ko 8 years ni no. Eno mo bebre na akoso. Even in Kufuor appoint omo into judicial service ni ade ne onu Kufuor hu se ediye oye ni betimi aboma ni no. What is wakabi?
Debbie.
As a man pam shey dey.
E fa na ho.
The new kura. It no to me ni dey. Papa na advice o dey man o dey makwa. Na me ti se stika. Ni ti se kwa abota. What ho ka se? Ai. Did it create a virtual? Jabai bia habaswa. Given na no ni sa. Ana no ti ti susu. No ni sa. Ana na sa ka no no we campaign de so mo do mo ba na san ko kan yi kama wo kra ni say this sometimes no more or more no mo man ko for dey edidi wo mo academic na tem. Because as a scholar like you could say PhD now the country says then to abama sana what you have like this
Abramu you wo ye finance minister Mahmoud Bawumia no e vice president
and one vice president now o man ni ko di tiro yam dollar ni euro 50 by Cedi a dollar 50 Ghana cedi space and send about me about what stabilize it now why did you do be ni and go anya ne Kufuor na na o say the appointation of them out don this a dura
Johnson
so say kwatre kwaso of them man to manzo aye dey
tinidi
e dey lectures and about me anye e dey nsem and about me anka anfa economy I know say John Dramani mama incompetent sent no no ba obetumi asisi dollar na to dem mama ontuni na US for kra be baga na press so that ye be dollar na ina ati ana de bia me say won si sen bia won si de esi ye de eti won say na ku 50,000 500 million to Ghana over $3,200.
Yes.
3,000. With the 500 million, 50,000. I could get 3,200. Make a circular, next to fashion. Which that time now can follow where you know a cabin 20,000. She different, you know. Enti kwashe bi atena ho ka kire say na percentage ya. Ye ka say no tata na ye for no aka benya 20,000. Sisi mi ne le ka tell say obi ana ni sika ye 10,000 no. Ye to 1 billion no. $100 for na wo bi nya say. Na compare ne to the same person is $100 say no bi nya.
Sir.
No, I can't say, and let the any better. Say, no. I just a mad person. Will be an argument here, Juma. I know with this uncle Bowie. That's for Empire of and say 7 December, baby.
Ebeson. Mate, that was it, Fred.
Akuffo Addo, who later became president. Somehow Akuffo Addo picked the same young man to be his running mate. Till then, Bawumia was not even in the mainstream of party. He was a party man, all right, but behind the scenes. So he picked him, and of course there were some Akuffo Addo, who later became president. Somehow Akuffo Addo picked the same young man to be his running mate. Till then, Bawumia was not even in the mainstream of party. He was a party man, all right, but behind the scenes. So we picked him, and of course there were some Akuffo Addo who later became.
Well, to say na Fred Ekano, former President John Ajekum Kufuor, ejina Ghana for nyina nim ka kire se o. Ono UK nyina na Mamudu Bawumia NPP ni. Mi wa na papa yi ditro. Papa yi ditro. The then General Secretary of NPP, and now he to ka kire se Mamudu Bawumia as at the time. Na now the bone this or person obey and running meeting. Na Mamudu Bawumia any membership card no NPP ni kura. Yet former President Kufuor ejina Ghana for him editro. To send a Friday can papa is so a statement so statement and Yaman America. But you come up with your own judgment. My na the politics say Ghana. Na say yam hweni ya kakra ye don no phone sa na Ghana na aja pansam. Because nipa ne ejama ni shomo nsa no dodo na no tro ne azanko a wayo oluma ya oti hwiche mukra no oso nka no kre waho oluma ya oti hwiche mukra na e wo se this is the time o matima mufo hu so wo se dey ma ben amena na because me yire kra kwa jame me yakọ papa is still no wodi tro anyway that is how it is politics no babia e the politics no adu no enti si anhweni ya e de kakra sa bo se nema be jame ejami wia na woni hwia obeye politics no enti programming 1 hour with Munufi me pacho so bit my subscriber mama ya mani ebeje ase me ya ben one and sometimes and this is how I do it enti I said I was going to read some few messages via aba na afede me de biaka Millicent edi bia say this man is very big problem of Ghana. Yeah, I'm sure so refer to President Akuffo. Yes. Nibo Jefferson say the most senior most nation record is Akuffo. Well, sometimes that is how they behave. One was the level now the better trust in pan and some of the kind of now say year free, but Akuffo so how you do my own. Yeah, no. Gente pa every time I know President Akuffo gina on nice wa one mami efen say Giselle Yazi or say why. Mami also ni Akuffo wo by say efen Giselle Yazi or something like that. That would gina on nice so. Enti na ya mami Teresa Akuffo ko nke say papa wo kan okore yet papa wo ti hwi chem ni epian na wo say di tro. Sika Ghana sika semi ya tete pan semi menti say Akuffo akasa da. Former President John Ajekum Akuffo baby a wo Ghana yo timi ya nde wo ti hwi chem ye pian we. Say Ghana ye ofe. E ofe. Ah wo say an trans Mamudu Bawumia mate yen first year na man no metwi ka no. Aw. Ghana ya ye mobododo. Yet sika so nse come dey en. Enti abusia for 1 hour with Munufi me de ubesi wa ha ene. Na say o wa adwenkyere bi a ubetimi asende me on the line or beneath our screen and as a true comment and so I will take my time. Na me no atwetwe emo. Time bia na meto me boss say metimi answer most of the comments na eba. I do my best. Ebia na nyene nyina na metimi but mostly now I do my best. So I meet me as we move on. As you could see, there has been some little changes. If there's some things, always we need to be changing things. Now, Ghana and see what that is what we are doing. The ultimate aim and yet to see a promote Ghana and that is what I say every day. About where so what the John Mama and Mamudu Bawumia, you could see the difference is clear. Mama yin came home, near Poo be to me, Ajigana see ho. And yan turning nada near the Yagano, there be a yanisa. Ubi or the Azan, a tronin nada. I say, and no the Baba Jigana as a baby. Now all me and now all me, that is not the kind of person. Or maybe be a man. Because I be a Ghana, do know. Here to move Ghana very, very fast. I say Ghana, extend my Ghana, a coin muntem. And do no one agree to Ghana, sign the Ghana, that kind of person, yeah, they are supporting, because that is not how we want to do things. Ghana, I say, I must say Ghana, no. And that is how our vision for BC and Nyame Adoma. The best sign Asia, so food to be our Obitama made that OBBS. Bye bye.
4 days and then 21st April, year 2 ama, and let no NPP for one share na one yen yamaye that economic hardship and the dollar and 13.6 and the dollar no kwa na ekoso kwa na tia baketo bi na sa kwa, but what you was breaking the aid. NPP about 4 days and then 21st April.
Bawumia in particular, his hurdle is the crisis of credibility. Who wants to vote for a person who has proven himself to be a liar, a flip-flopper, a man who is not disciplined, a man who calls his political opponents all kinds of derogatory